Hello, thanks for watching this video. I'm Brittany and I'm here with Dave Asomaning, and today we are going to kick off the 2021 video conversation theme about the topic of forgiveness. Just a little background, my name's Brittany New and I'm an entrepreneur living in Barcelona.
I'm Dave Asomaning and I live in Fort Pierce, Florida.
Today, we are going to start this conversation about forgiveness. What we like to do in these conversations is we like to pull resources and information from different forms of media and synthesize them into very practical and applicable ways that you can unlock your inner power and transform your life into the lifestyle that you've always wanted. So in these conversations, we're going to be diving into the topic of forgiveness and uncovering different ways that you can practice forgiveness in your life. And I'm so excited to share that with you guys today with Dave. So today we're going to be referencing lesson number 63 from A Course in Miracles. And the lesson says, "The light of the world brings peace to every mind through my forgiveness." Dave, why don't you start by telling us what this passage means to you?
Yeah, so thank you so much for the intro, Brittany, and it's good to be on this show with you. So this lesson in A Course in Miracles I think of as having three main sections to it. The first section makes reference to what's called the light of the world. The second section talks about bringing peace to the world. And then the third section talks about the forgiveness of the person who intends to bring peace to the world, right? So those are the three sections. And it's really about practicing, I think. Let's say that you and I intend to be people who are actively bringing peace to the world. Well, the way we're going to do that is by connecting with the source of light. Some people might want to call it God or higher being or higher power or source. Many different ways to refer to it. That's not what's critical here. Just that there is a source, a divine source that we can tap into that will give us the power to bring peace to places that are where people are suffering in the world. And the linchpin between those two things, the source of light and peace to other minds, is our being willing to forgive. Now, the Course means this in a very specific way, which we can talk about a little bit more in a moment. But let me throw the mic back over to you, see what you're thinking.
Okay, so the person that practices forgiveness, I believe we call the intermediary, and that person is going to receive a lot of benefits for practicing forgiveness, internal and external benefits. So do you have, I don't know, a story from a time in your life when you had to practice radical forgiveness or even a small amount of forgiveness in order to overcome something? It could just be like a day-to-day in your personal life, and then it would be great to hear also how that connects to practicing it in your business life as well.
Sure. Thank you for that. With regard to day-to-day living, this comes up all the time, I think. When I say this, I mean opportunities to practice forgiveness, right?
Of course.
Before I give the illustration, I'll give a quick snapshot of what I think the Course is getting at when it says we want to forgive. The main thing it's getting at is to be able to let go of the illusions of chaos and turmoil that seem to be beckoning us to get involved in them and to stir up resentment and grievance, right? So the Course's strategy for this is for us to almost think of it as if the world we perceive that has all this chaos and suffering in it is an illusion. It's almost like we're asleep. And forgiveness is a process of waking up from the illusion into reality in which we let that go. This is an important distinction because a lot of people think of forgiveness as something like, oh, you slapped me, and even though it really hurt me, I'm not going to pay you back. I'm going to let you off the hook, right? And so the Course's approach to forgiveness is different. And over the year that we're doing this, we'll talk about this more, but the idea here is not that you're blaming the victim in the case of the person who got slapped, and not that they're just going to be passive about it, but there's something in their psychology and their spirituality where they can let the whole illusion of the pain and suffering of having gotten slapped, they can let that go and wake up into a higher reality in which they're much more powerful. So, so with all of that as backdrop, two examples as you asked me to think about. One is on the personal side. So somebody hit my car just this past week, and um, I called my insurance, and they told me what to do. And I've done this before, so I was pretty familiar with the protocol about how to get my car to a body shop. And there's one in town that I really like a lot. They do a good job. And then the courtesy of my insurance, I get a rental for the time that the car is in the shop. So I made an appointment with the car rental company, and I was very specific that even though I'm a big guy, I didn't want a monster truck or SUV or something. And I was like, now remember, when I come, I just want something nice and modest and, simple that I can get in and out of and drive around easily. I don't want to have to put too much effort into driving a big truck. So, long story short, I got to
I think I know where this is going.
I got to the rent car rental. I waited around. There was social distancing. We had masks on. I mean, there was a bit of waiting and to get the car ready. And then lovely young lady comes out and says, "Your car's ready." And I'm sitting. I said, "Oh, really? Where is it?" She says, "Come follow me." And she takes me to this monster Chevy
No.
Tahoe. It's like a big elephant. And I'm like, "Oh no."
The irony.
Yeah. And I said to her, I said, "Oh no, no, no. I don't want that car." I mean, I wasn't unpleasant and I wasn't mean, but I was disappointed because, and I said to her, I said, "Don't you have notes about when I made the reservation and what I specified and that I didn't want a big truck?" And she was like, "No, I don't see anything." And I mean, it was an elaborate conversation that I had about this. So, and then I was like, I got errands to run. I was hoping to have the car and be out of here. And she said to me, "Well, how far away from here do you live? Because we'll give you a ride home and we'll bring you back tomorrow for the car." I was like, "No, this is just getting out of control. I want the car now and I want something simple. I don't want you to take me home and I got to go places, you know? And I don't mean to be rude or mean, but can you help me out? Just something." She was like, "Oh, you sure you don't want that big thing? It's a good car. It fits you. It's good for your size." I was like trying to stifle my frustration and all this other stuff. So she says, "I'll go talk to my manager." And so I'm thinking, wow, this is Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong.
Right.
And
Especially when car rental companies are
yeah,
involved.
I'm telling you, my day is going to be messed up. And here they're thinking about these outlandish scenarios of taking me home and then they'll come get me tomorrow. And I'm like, so what am I supposed to do in the meantime? I'm like, no. And so then, taking my own medicine in terms of forgiveness, I reminded myself that over the years of practicing this, that I could buy into the illusion or the nightmare that this was not going to work out and it was going to be nothing but endless frustration. And I could get more and more upset. I could ratchet up my level of upset about this and start nurturing and harboring grievances. Or I could relax more into source and trust that if I was willing to let the illusion go and bring peace to the situation, the people helping me by connecting to the source of light, as our lesson mentions, that something amazing would happen. So I began to get anchored in that. I had no idea what was going to happen, and people were coming, and they were also having their little skirmishes. You don't have the right documentation, you don't have the right credit, you don't have this. And so I was just trying to send peace out. And then she came back and she said, "I think I got something for you." The person who was helping me. And she said, "Is that car over there?" I said, "What, that BMW over there?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, that's perfect." Not that I'm a hound for all of that, but it was just the perfect size and it was state of the art. Everything on it was brand new. And I was like, wow, okay. I really lucked out here. So
What I noticed is that you had to take a moment to yourself to make that mindset shift and that decision, right? And that was a particular moment where you said, "I have two choices here. I'm going to choose the path that helps me practice my values."
that's right. And I mean, even though we're talking about this in somewhat humorous terms and it's a fairly mild thing and it might not seem like that big a deal, I'm the type of person, and maybe other people can relate to this. I used to throw temper tantrums about stuff like this. I mean, I used to get into a rage, and I would just be using bad language, and I wouldn't be threatening people, but I'd be really clear that I was unhappy and that, I was a frustrated customer, and can you call the manager and this and that. And, so for me, I mean, over many years, learning to pivot and stay, like you said, taking a minute to pivot out of this it's been a practice, and it's amazing how good things happen as a result. You get the miracle. You switch from what could be a nightmare into something it's flowing. You're getting, and again, it's not, the emphasis here is not on me being special. This is something anybody can do
Right.
in any
And we have the
circumstance.
opportunity to do so 1,000 times a day or more. So going back to my question about the benefits that the intermediary has for practicing forgiveness, I can see that on a practical level, you ended up getting a luxury vehicle when, for no additional charge. But on a more subconscious level, you're also, by sending out peace and by choosing the feelings that are better, you have like an inner openness to good things coming to you and flowing out good energy. And it, of course, feels better to make that decision to choose the positive mindset.
That's exactly right. And one of the things that I wasn't completely mindful of at the time, but I'm feeling as we talk now about it and debrief about it, is that there was this tremendous opportunity to bring peace to more people.
Right.
Like other people who are having similar challenges or the challenges of their own, that, for future reference, it's like, okay, if I'm in that situation, or if people in our audience or our listening audience are in similar situations, that you're getting peace for yourself, but you're also doing it for everybody in the field, in the of it, your environment.
Yeah, so that could be an actionable practice when you find yourself going to a place that is a typically stressed place. Maybe you're going to the DMV or something. You can make an intention to send out peace to the people around you in the line and stuff like that.
That's right. I'm thinking of airports, and we're in social distance time now.
COVID
but
testing centers.
Restaurants. I mean, there's just so many places where your buttons can get pushed and you get activated into grievance, but that's going to be anti-miraculous. It's gonna shut down peace, break the connection to the source that our lesson is telling us about. Yeah.
Right. And then the peace of others actually was essential for you to ultimately get a positive outcome. If you had, been sowing the opposite to the woman that was helping you with the car, you might not have gotten, obviously, what you wanted. So
right, and like just a quick extension on that too. She came back and she said, she said, I did good for you, didn't I? And I said, you sure did. And she said, well, will you write me a Google, what do they call them, a review? Yeah. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, I did something for you, so you do something for me. And I was like, she became very personable, and just the way that you described, it was like we were enjoying this, helping each other rather than having shut down on each other. And again, I want to emphasize that these things can seem kind of trivial, and maybe there are people in the world who do these things without thinking about it, and that's just normal for them. But I think that in the world, with all the strife and turmoil and pain and suffering that we see day in and day out, that there's a space to talk about how to practice this for those of us for whom this doesn't come so naturally.
Wonderful. Okay. And then now something in your professional life. Forgiveness, like we were saying, it's not always person to person. It can be in a situation, or it could be a person. So you deal with a lot of people in your business in a lot of situations. And so I can see a lot of opportunities.
I think you'll like this one. It has to do with you. Pause. Let's cue the music. Okay. So yeah. So this is how it relates. It involves you. So I have a lot of different projects going on for my business this year. There's a webinar that I needed to have recorded, or somebody to do a voiceover for me. There's a book for this I'm trying to finish. There's a funnel for my online course. And then I was thinking, man, I'm way behind in the social media game, but I need content to really play in the social media game. And so I want to do it all. I want to do a YouTube videos. I want to do a podcast off of the videos, and I want to do a blog off of the audio based on one sort of theme, which is what we're doing now. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm asking a lot, and how can I find the right person to help me do this? So
You
I was
needed a
looking on,
miracle.
right there you go. That's exactly right. So I just started sort of scrambling on the freelancer sites that I typically use, Fiverr and Upwork and some others, and I was just looking and looking. I was looking for that, just the right person who would just fall into my lap as, okay, you're the one who can do it all, and the price will be right, and we'll get along, and you'll know my brand and all this other stuff. And I just wasn't finding the right thing. I mean, I found somebody, but I didn't know them, and it was going to be a whole new thing to start with them. And usually, it takes a couple of tries with people interviewing and making sure that there's a right fit to get the right fit, and still
Right.
things can go awry. So I went back into the source of light over a period of days, and I was like, so source, I was almost like having a conversation with source. I was like, so what's the most peaceful, direct, straightforward way in which I can accomplish what I'm wanting to accomplish
Mhm.
and bring more light into the world through what I'm trying to accomplish? I was just thinking to myself and thinking to myself, and you and I hadn't been connected for a while. We'd done some projects before, but we hadn't done anything recently, and I it just popped into my mind. Check with Brittany first of all about your webinar and the voiceover for it. Maybe she can help you with that. I don't know. I was a little bit kind of, not apprehensive, but cautious. And
Right.
then I checked with you. You said, yeah, sure, no problem. I can do that. I was like, yay, okay, one thing on my list that I found the right person for. Then I was like, okay, this other thing where, I mean, I'm doing the YouTube video, the podcast, and the blog all at once. Let me check. Maybe Brittany can, you know,
Yeah.
maybe Brittany can help a brother out. No, so I checked again very cautiously, and I was like, "Don't get mad at me if this isn't, you know." And then you were
Oh,
like,
don't
"Yeah,
worry.
sure, no problem, I can do that." And I was like, "Problem solved." Two of them
Right.
knocked out because I checked in with Source, and then Source whispered to me gently, nudged me to check
Mhm.
things out with Brittany, and it was like a miracle. It's just amazing
Oh, stop.
compared to. I
No,
mean, and
but
you're
finding
phenomenal
the
for people
answer,
in the
finding the
audience who
answer
don't
under your
know.
nose, yeah.
If you have needs, or I mean, we didn't set this up. Brittany didn't sort of cajole me into this. If you have work around your course, audio, video, um, templates, worksheets, what we're doing here, I mean, she's amazing. She is a real miracle worker with her
Thank
technical
you.
expertise. Yeah, you're welcome. So anyway, so I feel like, and somebody might say, Dave, okay, so I mean, that's more on you. Like, okay, if you've worked with Brittany before in the past, what took you so long to figure it out? I mean, why all this roundabout stuff? And again, there are people in the world who maybe don't have the issues I have with this, either in their personal lives or in their leadership. But the folks that I'm speaking to are people who are like me, where you overthink things, your mind
Mhm.
gets way too involved. You think about a million different possibilities. They all seem like they could lead somewhere. Now that's the active sort of chattering mind, and we need analysis in what we do. But where I'm going with this is that there's also a way to train yourself if you are that sort of person who can't get right to the answer, miracle answer. There are things that you can do to get there faster,
Mhm.
which is what this whole series is about in our personal
Right.
lives and our work lives. Yeah.
Right. And like you said, this is something that may seem commonplace, but how many times can all the people watching remember when they were looking for an answer and it actually was right under their nose the whole time? It happens to me all the time. And don't take for granted how possible it is that that could be happening to you right now. Maybe you have a problem that you're racking your brain about, and you just need to have the humility to actually stop for a moment and be open to receiving an alternative answer, which may not end up even being alternative in the end once you realize what it was. Yeah, it takes a bit of humility to kind of stop what you're doing and think maybe I'm forcing too much, and just being open to hearing the answer that source could provide you very directly.
There, because building on that, um, it can be for any issue at all
Mhm.
in our lives, anything.
Yeah.
There's a bill that needs to be paid that seems out of reach, or there's a relationship that's, in turmoil. What there's a health issue, there's inner angst. It can be about any issue. There's always something that is more flowing, more full of light, brings more peace, and is easier to navigate than some of the alternatives that we get very sort of frantic about chasing. Yeah, I like what you
Right.
said. Yeah, it's really powerful.
Right.
And it sort of reminds me of my professional background a bit, where I was 12 years old when I started making videos and putting them on YouTube with my friends. And so my teachers knew about it, everybody knew about it, and they all told me to go to film school and get a degree in film, and that's what I ended up doing. But the irony is that if I had continued making YouTube videos since I was 12, we know how that might have gone by now. um,
Beautiful story. I didn't know that about you. I'm glad that I know that arc of
Yeah,
your.
it's nice to see those videos, but yeah, and here I am doing YouTube now, connecting to what I've always wanted to do. The answer to, my dream job, I guess, was always right under my nose, and I was running around and chasing and getting degrees and going to job interviews when I could have just turned on my camera.
Yeah, I can relate to what you with the many degrees in the background. I can relate. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not knocking education. I think
Right.
I can see how it made your offerings even more robust. And
Yeah, I agree. I don't regret anything. But it's just, a simple desire can just be the solution
In
that's
itself.
itself.
right. That's right. No,
Mhm.
it's great illustration. Good reminder for us and our audience too that there are simple pathways,
Mm-hmm.
especially in terms of miracle thinking, in relation to the source of light that we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
that brings peace through forgiveness. And forgiveness, again, many different ways to talk about it, but in the context of what we're discussing, it means releasing, letting go of attachment to grievances, resentments, hard, complicated, tough, painful ways of doing things.
And that can present itself in many different ways, from conflicts with others, conflicts with ourselves and situations, and tapping into that forgiveness. So a big question, what are some ways that people watching can practice tapping into that forgiveness and that source, and what are some actionable things that people can do in order to practice this?
Sure, great question. Thank you. Um, in my coaching and in some of my other uh, my book and my online course, I like to map out a series of things that people can do, from very simple practices like affirmations, just living with an affirmation for a day, a week, a whole year, just practicing an affirmation. I am at peace, I am at peace, or I am safe, or I am healed, or I am whole. These affirmations can take on enormous power over time, even though they seem very simple. And you can ramp up from there to um, doing vision boards, which a lot of people know about. You could do guided meditations, following an audio. There's so many of those out on YouTube. Just putting a search in for guided imagery about just about everything under the sun, from health issues to relationship issues. Something a little bit more intense is self hypnosis, in which somebody will guide you, say, most typically on an audio, through the stages to kind of let go of the chattering mind and get in touch with the inner power that we all have. So I like those as well. Course in Miracles is a whole process. I'm a student and a teacher of A Course in Miracles. I've been using it since 1995, um, and
Wow.
it's a whole program. It's very elaborate. It's very robust, and it's dedicated to helping us sort of tune in to the inner source of light and let go of these grievances. So there are a lot of different things. There's even sort of more exotic things coming into view in popular culture, like the limitless pills, things that you can take to
Wow.
enhance performance. And I love that movie Limitless with Bradley
Yeah.
Cooper. I don't know if you saw that, but
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
love that movie.
it's. I mean, there are some bad side effects and so on, at least
Yeah.
earlier in the movie. But um, whether it's a pill or a meditation or a meditation in particular. I mean, all this comes down to meditation in some way, shape, or form, right? How to quiet the active, chattering mind, such that uh, we can be present to this source of light inside. So, learning meditation techniques, um, that's very good too. And I imagine in subsequent calls in this series, we can be more specific about places people can go for additional resources.
You say that there are a lot of different methods that people can choose from. And I think you'd said to me earlier that the important thing is that people should just kind of consolidate their methods to one or two things that they can commit to working on at a time, right?
Yeah, good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so I recommend having something that you use faithfully every day, day after day, week after week, month after month through the year, so that you have the long view that you're going to train your mind for the whole year. That's why we're doing a series like this, for instance,
Right.
on forgiveness, that one phrase through the whole year. And in certain other circles, I've been doing that for 10 years now, where every year we take one
Wow.
theme and we study it and practice it the whole year. And then we can also break it down into a very granular level where through the day we wake up starting by getting centered in whatever method we're using to get centered. We get centered into source. And then it's a good idea. A Course in Miracles teaches to a lot of places in it to check in with source 5 minutes of every hour throughout the whole day.
Okay.
It's almost as if you had a GPS. I mean, you don't just set the GPS and then leave it alone. You're constantly checking in with it till you get to your
Right.
destination. So from beginning of the day to the end of the day, we're constantly checking in with that inner source GPS. Yeah.
I want to challenge the viewers to maybe commit to checking in with a phrase like when you feel yourself getting in a frustrating situation, you can ask yourself, how can I use this opportunity to practice forgiveness? That's just a simple way to just check in and bring some mindfulness to the moment. That should at least help you reframe into a more positive mindset for that moment and approach the situation more logically and being open to receiving any messages from what the opportunity is trying to tell you in that moment.
Love it. Love it. That's encouraging to me. I love hearing you sort of recap it that way. I think that this has been a great opportunity, Brittany, to map out some of the things that can make each of us more powerful as bringers of peace into the world. We think of all the turmoil going on in the media and the stories that we hear around the world. So not only does what we're talking about work for everyday personal impediments that we come up against, not only does it work with our leadership projects, whether you're a CEO, an executive, an entrepreneur, a supervisor, a manager, this stuff helps to solve the kinds of problems that are constantly coming at us. It also helps us from a distance be contributors to peace with regard to climate issues, politics, warfare, hunger, sustainability, all the things that we're concerned about in the world. This stuff has a direct connection to making us more powerful contributors to the elevation of peace in the world.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I just want to thank you for setting this up and making this opportunity for us to do this work together, talking about all of this. I'm really excited about the series for the year, and
Great.
looking forward to next month's time with you.
Me too. Yeah, thanks for meeting me and having this wonderful, inspiring conversation. And I can't wait to get into the next video next month. So I hope you guys watching come back and continue the series with us throughout the rest of the year. We're excited.
Take care.